Hi there. Today I wanted to talk about what it means to be present with our children, right? What it means to show empathy to our children, and what it means to be mindful. So let me explain. It's really important for us to understand what anxiety really is, right? Um, that it's a feeling of distress, right? And our kids, when they haven't learned sort of the skills to navigate those feelings, right? They're constantly in a state of distress. They're constantly feeling like they're hypervigilant. They're always looking for signs of something dangerous. And dangerous could mean a judgment. Dangerous could mean going and trying something new that seems really benign to us. Like I remember my daughter completely being terrified of going on an escalator. And we were like going across the mall every time and getting in an elevator so that we could go from one floor to another. And obviously that wasn't going to be sustainable. So, we tackled the escalator, but we tackled the escalator. We could have tackled it in two ways, right? One was what I was starting to feel, which was really intolerant and like, this is ridiculous and get over it. It's so easy. Just hold my hand. We're going to go down. And I realized that that's actually not really, thankfully, that helpful. And instead, I really stepped into her shoes. For whatever reason, she was highly anxious and distressed about the danger of going down this escalator. And so, what I did was, once I took a breath and realized I was not going to be helpful by being intolerant of her, I actually slowed myself down and really stood in her shoes and let her know that I get it, right? And I empathize. And I told her, look, sweetheart, I understand. This looks really, really scary. Like, I get it. It feels so scary, and you don't want to go and you want to run away. And I get that. And we do need to do this. So, with a very loving intention, with a very loving energy, I shifted myself very mindfully into a greater state of love and said, come here, sweetheart, take my hand, and we're going to do this. And together we sort of took a breath. I took more of the breath than she did, I think. She just kind of like did it with me. But you could see that as I brought more loving energy to her, like an understanding, compassionate, loving energy, where I truly understood her experience, she started to, it just brought the distress down, that anxiety down just a little bit. And then we were able to tackle the escalator. And it was still hard for her. And we did it. And then by the end, she felt better, right? That it was done. Now that's an example of sort of catching ourselves before we just jump into a reaction, right? And being mindful of how I'm coming across once I step into my child's shoes. So there's some key elements to that, right? And this doesn't have to be like a specific incident like an escalator. It could be in general. Kids are very concerned about how people, judge them or what they think of them, right? They're constantly in this state of hypervigilance and fear, really, right? So I want you to imagine if you're a world we're constantly in a state of fear. You're always worried, right? That something's going to happen or someone's going to think something, and that triggers your brain to go into that fight or flight response, right? And then imagine this little kid who has no clue what to do with that. I mean, honestly, a lot of adults, we don't know what to do with that, right? Because it's so overwhelming and so distressing. And so, what we want to be doing as a parent is recognizing that this child has some anxiety. It doesn't matter why, right? It's not that important why. It's that we know that they do, and we want to really show them that we get it, because that kind of distress, it's overwhelming, and it's something you can imagine. You just want to escape from it, right? Give me anything to please make this go away. And so they try and control things, and they try and do things, and they become intolerant, and they try to become sort of powerful. And in doing so, sometimes these kids can come across as really mean, right? But really what's going on is that they're being sort of overwhelmed with feelings of anxiety. So what we want to be working on is helping them soothe that, right? Soothe that, learning to regulate that, getting them to learn different techniques, whether that's through other mindfulness meditations by incredible people like Tess Levitt and the Big Heart Journey, or finding something else online, doing Ziva Kids meditation with Emily Fletcher. I mean, all of these are amazing, right? Ways to help our children, and there's many, many more. Those are just two people that I love and adore, who I believe bring our incredible resources to our children. Um, but then there's also the part that's about us, right? Which is I need to be centered because I'm probably anxious in some way as well. And what do I need to do for me to be able to bring myself to that mindful, calmer space where I can soothe my own inner child, right? Who's probably feeling exactly the same way as my child, was in some form, in some scene. And so what we want to be doing is working on, again, our self-care, which is where I always go to as our foundation. It's about soothing and comforting and bringing a loving, kind, gentle presence to ourselves so that we can soothe our own distress. And that may mean also doing mindfulness training for ourselves, meditation trainings, whatever we need to do for ourselves so that we can bring ourselves to that space. And when we're in that space, our own inner child is comforted, and then our children can be comforted by us. So this is not easy what I'm asking you to do. It takes consistency, it takes some time, but it is so worth it, I promise you. I've been on this journey myself. I've been practicing meditation and mindfulness for years now, and I can feel the difference. I can catch myself and pause and then step into what I need to be doing. That day on the escalator was actually doing a lot of the mindfulness, but I was aware of it as a psychologist, obviously, that I wasn't going to be benefiting my child, but I could have been in an even better space for her, and the idea there is that better space only comes from us doing the practices. So please know that you matter. And when you matter and your own inner child matters, and we take the steps to learn these things that we're not supposed to just know how to do, but to learn them. And we have so many beautiful resources out there. So when we learn them, we can then make the difference for, again, ourselves and all the people that we love around us.